Good morning. So I want to talk a little bit about our company Agamatrix and a little bit about blood glucose monitoring. So thank you for the introduction. So my name is Stuart Blitz, and I'm the Executive Director of Business Development and Strategy at a company called Agamatrix, and we're based in the US, in Boston. And we are in the blood glucose monitoring business. So I'm sure everybody here is familiar, given the epidemic all over the world, especially in India. As I heard, 60 million people with diabetes in India. It's only going to grow. So we are in that business, and so we make glucose meters and test strips that you have to prick your finger and you get some blood and you will test your blood sugar. And so with our company's been around for now about 13 years. And when we got into the business, the reason why we got into diabetes was we had a technology, and we still do, that makes glucose monitoring much more accurate than other products on the market. And about 5 or 6 years ago, we transitioned a little bit and broadened our approach to be more into the connected health market as well, because once the iPhone came out and once we have all of our smartphones on us, just like Arpan said in our last talk, we also view that as being an integral hub that you're going to have as part of your healthcare moving forward. And so we branched off into the connected health market as well. And so what we did was we actually in 2010 launched the first ever FDA cleared medical device for people with diabetes. I'm not sure if anybody here has seen this product or not, but this is a product that we launched with our partner Sanofi. So Sanofi is I believe at this point they're the world's largest pharmaceutical company. And they launched this product, and this is with the old version of the iPhone, but you can see here that it plugs right into the bottom, and then we have an app on the iPhone, and then you're able to do a test and actually see all your results and monitor them right on your smartphone. And so it was, we were so early that actually Apple hadn't yet spoke to anybody about getting one of their accessories cleared by the FDA. So that's how long ago this was that we spoke to them. And so that was a really fun project and really interesting because this was the first product that was cleared to work with the iPhone. And one of the things as I was thinking about during the last presentation is that we also agree. We think that smartphones are really going to be the hub of future connected health. But one of the challenges to that is actually, at least in the US and Europe, is making sure that you also follow and you comply with a lot of the regulatory issues that exist. And it's funny because when you compare, if you're a company that's trying to get a product to work with Apple and to get it cleared by the US FDA, it's funny, a lot of the talks I give, I kind of take a poll of the audience and I ask, which organization do people think is more difficult to get clearance from, either Apple or the US FDA? And it's funny because I get a kind of a good mix of answers. And actually, I would say that the Apple is actually the more difficult one because the US FDA is actually legally mandated to give you feedback. So if you submit an approval of a medical device to them, they are legally required to give you feedback about why it wasn't accepted, what else you can do. Apple is a private company or a public company, but they're a company. They're not the government, so they are not obligated to tell you anything. And so it's an interesting thing to think about because Apple, with all their progressive stuff in healthcare, with the health kit and all the things they're doing there, they still, certainly wouldn't want the iPhone become a medical device. I mean, that kind of goes beyond what they want to do. So it's going to present some interesting challenges over the next few years because we have this device in our pocket. Everybody has a smartphone now. We should use that absolutely, but there's going to be some challenges with that as well. And so we were really proud when we launched this product. We were in the Apple store as well, and so it was pretty neat to go into the Apple store and see our health product there. So I want to talk a little bit about glucose monitoring, sort of the present and future trends. And as I was preparing for this talk, I was thinking about it, and I kind of got to thinking about the first glucose meters on the market many years ago. And actually, I found this on Wikipedia because I thought it was an interesting picture showing old glucose meters. And it's funny because they even compared those meters to the ones on the bottom, and even those products are about 9 or 10 years old now. Which, they were kind of making the statement that these are the newer ones, and they're even still older now. And so if you look at the glucose monitoring category, it's come a long way. I think the first home meters were released in the late 70s or early, actually mid-80s, I think. And so you had this continual progression of products. And so over the last 20 years, it would actually, the products were differentiated. So they would, such features as how much blood they would take. So you'd have companies saying, well, you should buy my product because we take half as much blood as the next company. And then you'd have another feature of saying, well, my product takes 30 seconds to do a test, and my new product takes 10 seconds. And so it was very feature-driven, as most consumer electronics are today. Over the last 10 years, though, I would say it's become quite a commoditized market where, all the products out there now take a little bit of blood, are very fast, the price has come down. A lot of that is commoditized, but the one thing that is not yet commoditized and that people are really struggling to figure out what to do is on the connectivity side of things. And so when you look at kind of how the old products have been, these ones here are some of the newer ones. Our product on the right, the IBG Star, sold by Sanofi, and then this is a product on the left, was won by Johnson & Johnson. Again, both products are trying to communicate the data to a smartphone and then go from there. What's interesting, though, is that as much as we think that we have to get results from these medical devices into a system where people can use them and we can analyze patients on a frequent basis, even in the US, fax machines are actually still one of the largest ways to communicate between doctors. It's interesting. I mean, you would think in 2014 that wouldn't be the case. It's actually still oddly prevalent in 2014. The other thing that we think is actually a trend that we have to figure out is in the standards of how to communicate between these glucose meters and frankly all medical devices and a lot of the health systems that are being built today. And I think that's something that's only going to be more important as we go, as more EMRs are built and PHRs and all these systems are being built. We have to harmonize that. I think it's actually kind of a funny story. I don't know if people have heard of Kayak. So Kayak is one of the largest, it's called meta-search companies in the world. I think they were bought by Priceline in the last few years. And so that way, if you go on to buy a plane ticket, you can buy it. You can buy it on there. And so, but what's interesting is when you as an example of how standards can really impact things. It's an interesting story. I don't know if people know this, but when you try to buy a plane ticket, you actually can only buy a plane ticket about 11 months into the future. So if you want to buy a plane ticket for 2 years out, you just can't. You can't do it. I mean, they only sell them 11 months out. And it's funny, most people don't know why. And actually, I learned this about a couple of years ago when I was speaking to the CEO of the company. There's a company that does all the back-end data systems for the airline industry. And the reason is very simple. When they developed all those systems 20 years ago, nobody ever thought to include a year field in the database. So when you buy a plane ticket, you have this database of saying how to sell tickets. You have the month, you have the day, and people thought, well, why would we have to include a year? Because who's going to be buying a plane ticket a year out? And so even today, in 2014, we are stuck with this legacy system of being able to only purchase tickets that far out. And so I thought it was a very interesting case study in seeing how the implications of that. I mean, this is certainly not affecting your health, but it's something we do a lot. So I think it's even more important when we look at healthcare to really think about how those standards are going to impact how we get data from not only glucose meters, but also all types of medical devices. And even in the US, it's amazing that there are over 600 electronic medical record companies in the US, which is, I think, kind of crazy. It's unbelievable. And there's so much fragmentation already. And so I think we have to be aware of that as we're looking to how devices are going to connect to these systems. The last couple things I want to talk about is just as we're looking to the future of glucose meters and how they will connect, I think you have to look at a lot of the different sort of business examples over the last few years to see that this is a really important thing, and it's only going to get more important. You know, in the U.S., Aetna is one of the largest private health insurance companies. A few years ago, they bought this company called iTriage. They make an app that's going to help you diagnose your symptoms, find doctors, all the things that are becoming more prevalent today. So only naturally they're going to want medical device data, including glucose monitoring data, into their app. In the U.S., one of the largest retail pharmacies is called CVS. They are actually opening clinics they have about 7,000 or 8,000 pharmacies throughout the U.S. They're opening these clinics actually in the pharmacy where they will treat you. So if you come in for a condition, they will actually provide care right in the store, which is a big deviation from how care is done in the U.S. They also want to have diabetes data and glucose data and other data to help them treat those conditions. You also see that a lot of the smartphone companies are getting into healthcare. And so Samsung and Apple, they all want to get that data. They all want to be a part of that. Apple is launching HealthKit, and Samsung is even saying, great, we want to have all this health data in our phone because they also know that they're going to be the hub. And so in response, you know, we are extending our line of products to include Bluetooth Low Energy product, different apps and clouds, because we just want to play a small part in this, because we know that we have to kind of make our devices connected to all the ecosystems out there, because it's going to be so important over the next couple of years. Thank you very much for the time.